Welcome everyone to show number 8 for Experience This. This is going to be a good one. It's all about immersive experiences, and we have two true experts in the field. So first of all, I want to introduce Christian Watts from Magpie, one of our co-hosts here. Hi, Christian.
Thanks, Bruce. Happy to be here again. Excited for this one.
Yeah, and our two guests, Ana Araque from Imagine Experiences, one of the co-founders there, and Vince Kadlubek from Meow Wolf, one of the co-founders and former CEO of Meow Wolf. So super excited to have both of you here and to talk about this, hot term of immersive experiences. And maybe that's a great place to start is how do you both define an immersive experience? Ana, I'll let you start there.
That's a very good question, and thank you for that. Guys, hello everyone. I think that's probably the very best place to start for the beginning, because immersive as it is has evolved. I heard for the first time immersive 4 or 5 years ago, a couple of years before the pandemic, and it was mostly referred to attractions, and it was about being part of your own story. It's about sense, it's about smell, it's about taste, it's about feel, it's about stop being passive. And but the idea at the time, I think it was a pretty tech. A lot of people thought it's all about tech, it's something just for the youngsters, it's an escape game, it's a domestic thing. Nobody will travel to another country to do something like that. So that was the feeling in 2017, 18, 19 started to change, and it became something very different. I remember somebody in the industry, theater, a very, very high name of theater, telling me during the pandemic, immersive is what everything wants, they just don't know it yet. I think that's probably the best description.
And Vince, what's your definition of an immersive experience?
Yeah, an immersive experience, takes into account, all the senses. And there's a core component to immersive that I think is critical, which is agency. And that's where the individual, the guest, the participant has the ability to make choices during their experience, make choices within the ecosystem of that experience. And so again, it's not passive. There's an agency, there's a choice, there's a freedom. I get to, for a small moment in time, exist within an alternate reality. And as a participant of that alternate reality, I get to actually have an impact on that alternate reality. I get to actually, feel like myself and feel like I am not just an audience member. I'm not just a passive consumer. I am in the world of that experience. And so that choice, that agency is core to immersive.
So let's get right to it then. Talk to us about Meow Wolf. I'm going to guess that a lot of people watching hear a lot about Meow Wolf, but haven't experienced it yet, since as of today, it's only in Santa Fe, Denver, and Vegas, coming soon to Texas. Give us an idea, how do you walk into Meow Wolf? How is it immersive in your view? Maybe that's not fair since you built it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, we build worlds inside of buildings for you to explore based on your own choices and interests. And we didn't even really start off as an attractions company, or as a business at all, or as something that we thought tourists would come to. Like Meow Wolf started off as trying to carve out a space in the world of art. And we were looking at the world of art, and we were most interested in the works that were immersive at the time. So for us, the term immersive has dated back, 10, 15 years with Terrell and Team Lab and Sleep No More. We've been experiencing immersive for a while now in the world of art. And so, we came at it from that perspective, like what's the most interesting art for people to experience at this point? And it was when you get to walk inside of the painting, So we wanted to create that. We wanted to create the sense that you're walking inside of a, abstracted, fictional, but still embodied artistic experience. And that then resulted in our first permanent exhibition in Santa Fe called the House of Eternal Return, where you buy a ticket, you walk down a hallway, and then you enter into a door that puts you right in the front yard of a Victorian house. It's nighttime. You're at the front yard of this house. It's a fully built house right in front of you. And from that point forward, you then have total agency to experience that house and all the things that are through the secret passageways of that house, based on your own agency. And it just we opened in 2016 and it just took off. It was struck a nerve with audiences and proved out that immersive experiences and experiences that are unprecedented were highly desired by a general population, not just the weird Burning Man people, not just the weird, EDM people, but
Hey, wait, my son is an EDM guy. He's not that weird.
No, they're not that weird anymore, right? Exactly. I mean, but we had soccer moms and soccer dads bringing their kids from Omaha, Nebraska, and driving across the country to come to Santa Fe to have a weird psychedelic immersive experience. So it really showed us that wow, this is something that everybody wants to experience. And I have 1,000 theories as to why. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride. So now we've scaled to Vegas, and we've scaled to Denver. And we're going to be scaling to Dallas and to Houston. And so we're just taking the Meow Wolf immersive experience to cities all around the world.
Yeah, cool. So Ana, you've been at this for quite a while. Your one of the themes is the Bond experience, being from the UK. Tell us about that and maybe some of your history with immersive experiences. I know you've been doing this, certainly for a while. This isn't new for you.
Yes, I literally, and Vince, love it. Absolutely agree with you. Could not agree more. It's about the senses. It's about, and the appetite is just so much. So my first experience of my first sense of immersive was with a proof of concept. It's a company now called Layer Reality, but it used to be called ... And then at the very beginning, and the proof of concept was an immersive experience called Somnia, where you actually, it used to call Somnia, we know who you've been sleeping with. And that was the thing. And the props, the concept, the whole, it wasn't very clear. It was about understanding, is that an appetite for it? Is that gonna work? And it was incredible. It was only open for 8 months and it was literally sold out every day. And it was at the time, I think, quite a young audience, early millennials, I would say. Then Layer Reality evolved into getting an IP, and that's where I definitely go more involved working with the War of the Worlds, the immersive experience in London. And that's where another element got into it. This time it's going to be food. It's going to be smell. It was some element of smell in Somnia. But then I worked with Layer Reality preparing another one called the Gump and the Plot, the immersive experience, which is it's been launched, actually. The last one's been launched in London, June. It was interrupted by the pandemic, but it was a project. It's a project with the historic royal palaces, and it's actually the basement of the Tower of London. And it's exactly the part that Vince was naming. The first time when people are actually, for those that are not Brits, we celebrate in the UK something called the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, when a guy called Guy Hawkes trying to blow up the parliament. But this time you're going to find out what would have happened if it actually did not or did succeed. You make a choice at the end of the story. When I come back from the pandemic, and I was during the pandemic thinking, okay, there is an appetite. I did a number of projects with Secret Cinema. One thing, Secret Cinema, I don't know who are familiar with Secret Cinema. Secret Cinema, it's been around for probably, I don't know, over 6-7 years. And this is, again, another element. You get to get a costume. But one of the things that changed the game when Secret Cinema introduced almost the preparation for it. So a month before you're going to actually take part on your experience, you get a call where you're going to be told the role, you're going to be told what you're going to wear, you're going to be told, and you start preparing to be somebody. And in the price or whatever the experience you're going to do, you got a month of enjoyment to prepare for that. So I started to think, why does it have to be something that lasts 2 to 3 hours? Why it has to be just for young population? Why can we not make something that immerse people in the story? Theater was shut down. There was no theater during the pandemic. So the first thing is there is hundreds of people out there that love, it's a very dear to me, Bond. James Bond is an icon, right? Bond eats, Bond drinks, Bond, Bond is a womanizer, Bond. So what can you be? And that's exactly something that Vince was saying that kind of stayed with me. You get to be somebody that you're not. You get to make choices that you necessarily wouldn't. And how do I was feeling it was a bit of a disattach between tourism and immersive experiences. A lot of the locals thought it's something that I would do if I'm in London and I have nothing else to do, or I travel and do in my own country. Actually, would I travel all over the world from another country to be James Bond for one day? And we decided we're going to make immersive days out that are about, you cannot be James Bond if you don't really drink a proper Vespa shaking non-stir, which is a woman, really. It's not even a drink. It's the only woman Bond ever loved. You want to feel, you want to wear a suit from Savile Row and feel like Bond, and you want to, but at the same time, we didn't want to lose the historical part that all the tourists want. We put a twist in the classics. They say, how we keep the guides, the tourist guide telling you about this is the Big Ben and this is, and we add historical guiding with food, with drink, with film locations, and at the same time you get to be Bond, because I know it might not be incredibly discovering in the US because you guys get to shoot all the time, but in the UK nobody gets to shoot, and so our customers shoot 300 rounds of water PPK and get to understand what does the weapon Bond. At the same time, we combine the fact that Ian Fleming just make his life very fancy and write a book. And then we realized that it was appetite for that. You could do that with Banksy, with street art, that you can turn into something that lasts 6-7 hours. And
I'm just gonna chime in there a little bit, and if I could, what I'd love to hear from both of you is, okay, so what are some other great immersive experiences that you've experienced, that you see, that you're familiar with, that you think are out there leading the way, aside from what you guys are doing? Vince, I know some of the things that you love because I follow you, aside from roller coasters, which I asked you about on the arrival stage, whether that's an immersive experience. I think it's pretty freaking immersive to sit on a roller coaster. And I know that's like your favorite thing in the world. But what are the other, truly great immersive experiences that you've seen coming around the last year or two?
Gosh, it's hard for me to, I mean, I'm not even saying this because Meow Wolf is like, the company that I co-founded. What we've produced in Vegas and in Denver, and in Santa Fe, but they really are like next level kind of premium immersive experiences. And so those obviously come to mind, but besides Meow Wolf,
that's what I said. Besides Meow Wolf.
Yeah, besides Meow Wolf, there's the sort of one of the kind of grandfathers of immersive art is a place in St. Louis called City Museum, which is a massive like artistic sculptural playground that is just unprecedented in so many ways, and so that one comes to mind for me. Another one that's been around for a while in Culver City is the Museum of Jurassic Technology. It's more of a traditional kind of museum, but it has a lot of qualities of immersive that is really quite intriguing. Little hole in the wall, the Museum of Jurassic Technology. When it comes to like kind of new experiences, I'm really interested in this thing that opened up in Houston. I have not been yet. But it's called the Department of Wonder. And it's a highly technologically advanced, gamified, open world immersive experience that has elements of escape room, but doesn't have the limitations of escape room, is really trying to push the envelope of what storytelling can be and what interactivity can be inside of an alternate reality. And so that I have not tried yet, but just looking at, you know, the press that's been coming out, that's definitely, you know, high on my list to go and try out. So I love kind of like the push towards, you know, immersive becoming more and more like the next evolution of the video game, to be honest, like the next generation of storytelling. And I really firmly believe that IRL immersive experiences are truly like the next wave of how we experience story as humans. And so, you know, anything that's kind of pushing the boundaries there is quite intriguing to me.
What was that movie where you were in the video game, but you were really in real life? Or it was a pretty famous movie. I'll Google it. Huh?
Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Ready Player One.
Is
There's a
that-
lot. I mean, there's a lot going on in VR, you know, VR and LBE VR that, you know, I think there's a lot of potential with location-based virtual reality. I think we've barely even scratched the surface with that. And, you know, I think when you're talking about immersive, you have to talk about virtual reality, because it is immersive. Absolutely. I think it's best articulated, it's best experienced when it's anchored to the real world. You know, something interesting about the world of immersive experiences is that I think it's most visceral when the audience asks themselves, is this real? Like, that's a really interesting question that I think the best immersive experiences have conjured up in its audiences. And so VR by itself is not real, but when VR is anchored to the physical world, it starts to blur that line between what is real and what's not real. And I think that that's a really like powerful quality of immersive experiences.
I'm going to come back to you, Vince, one quick time, then I'll come over to you, Ana. So an immersive experience at a big attraction, Harry Potter World at Universal. Yeah. What do you think?
Sure. It's incredible.
Yeah.
The game, completely changed the game of theme parks. Like, absolutely, like put Disney on notice. And I mean, it's phenomenal. Everything being in world, you know, never breaking from the in-world fiction, you know, I think was key to that. And yeah, I mean, it's legendary. Did
you have butterbeer when you were there?
I did what everybody else did, which is I paid $20 to have a butterbeer, took one sip.
Right, exactly. Right.
Secret.
Okay, we're going to go to you, Ana, especially since it looks like Vince might be frozen for a second here. Hopefully his internet's back, and that's not my internet. So Ana, what are some other great immersive experiences that you've seen that you really looked to and say, this is what I want Imagine to do next?
Definitely, Meow Wolf definitely is a good example. I love that. I think I'm a big fan of secret cinema. I am a big fan of VR, but I think VR is an element of immersive, not what immersive should be all about. I found as well that being a little less relying on to the tech to tell the story allows you to be a more inclusive thing, a more inclusive concept, moving, you know, getting the audiences from 45 plus. Secret cinema definitely does it for me. And most lately, definitely, I'm a big fan of the Gump and the Plot. What I absolutely love about it is the level of creation that has to be done, because you're talking about something that you know, it's history. You cannot just go, when you take any subject, you can tweak it the way you like it, but when you talk about real history, or you're drilling in a wall and they tell you, oh, stop, God knows, maybe whatever King William II hand is being buried there, and it's actually true, and you talking and you playing with so sacred elements of a country history, and you wanted to turn into a story. That was such an incredible challenge. Four floors, trying to, at the end, which I found it really incredible, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. When you leave, he tells you there is a lot of elements in the story that are probably not true, but we wanted to include it. For example, it's not proven that it was a woman involved in the plot. It wasn't proven that it was a lot of elements that they introduced. But I think that to see the everything Immersive Tech had to offer, working in curation with historians that are so passionate about protecting the story, is incredible for me.
So I hear a lot of traditional, and you come from more traditional, and I hear more traditional tour companies, and that's where I come from, right? Hop on, hop off, and city guides and walking tours and bike tours. And there's a lot of discussion around immersion in that space, as you guys know. And I almost put it in two buckets, right? So Ana, you're trying to do the mobile version, kind of the typical tourist routes, which is great because you could do some immersion and see the city. And Vince, you're very much within an attraction. Yeah. What are other examples, though, that you've seen of immersion within the city? Because I kind of think of it as a tourists go to both, but one's very specifically inside an attraction and one's very specifically trying to show the people the city or the location at the same time. Do you have examples of other people that have crossed over, maybe with tech?
Well, I cannot say much because it's a project that's still ongoing. I'm working right now, but the idea is to bring back. It's a very, very big brand. It's the football team, and the idea is to bring back the memories of how this brand came to be such an icon that reflects the city, but at the same time there is a huge amount of tech. So you have 50% of understanding the city with a black cab driver. That is probably the most immersive thing you ever do. And then you actually pass through the attraction, and the attraction has invested the level of tech and VR that is being implemented is incredible. And then you end up sitting, and that's another part we wanted to kind of introduce, that level of pampering, that little level of luxury. Why can't you just don't, end up sitting with the artist or having dinner with the artist at the same time, and making sure that you seal that day with the most incredible memory.
So let's transition from that to a topic we had on a show a few shows ago, the passion travel, passion economy, which to me feels like it's also very intertwined with this. I mean, if I am passionate about art and modern art and really esoteric art, Meow Wolf is likely going to appeal to me from that passion perspective. Vince, when you think about the passion economy, do you see an intersection with Meow Wolf? Do you see, how else do you see that impacting the future of Meow Wolf? Or I'm sure you're involved in lots of other projects also, because I think the passion economy is certainly something that's really interesting and only going to grow from here on.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. I think what people are passionate about right now is having experiences. I mean, having unique experiences that they can, that money doesn't buy. You can't just keep it on your shelf. It's like it's in your memory, it's in your photo album, it's on your social media feed. It's the thing that makes you feel like life is worth living. I think like the retail and product-based economy feels, very exploitative, feels very 20th century. And I think we can kind of, it's not unique to the individual. It's a mass consumed, mass produced type of economy, whereas the experience economy is unique to the individual. And I think that's what people are passionate about right now, is having experiences that they can take with them that is unique to them. And that is IRL experiences that are unprecedented. Taking that a little bit further, it's not like any old experience doesn't do anymore. Like, people are seeking experiences that when they complete them, it feels like their life has been changed. It's a tall order, but people want to have experiences that change their life, which is the transformation economy, And that transformation economy, I think, is where immersive like slots in perfectly, because immersive puts you into an alternate reality where you can be an alternate version of yourself. And when you detach from the version of yourself that walked in the door and you come out now having just spent some time being a completely different version of yourself, you've now felt that transformation, which is basically like, I am not who I thought I was. I am whoever it is I choose to be. And like that fundamental line of like, I am whoever I want to be. Like, I don't have to be the person I've always thought I was. That is transformation. And that can be brought to life by placing people into an alternate reality for a small moment in time.
So now we have the experience economy, the passion economy, the transformational economy.
The whole future.
I don't know when something has never, like, when has an economy not been a passion economy though? It's like, it's always been a passion economy.
You know, I guess economy might be the wrong word, but we were talking to Dan Christian from what company did he just start? Christian, help me with that. I should have known that before I opened my mouth. But it's passion travel. So the idea is go with a superstar soccer player and travel with them to soccer matches. And he's the highlight. So for example, at Meow Wolf, a VIP night at any of your installations where the artists are there, right? And they're sharing their story about how they created what they created. To me, that then gets more of that artist passion level. And has that ever been contemplated at one of your installations?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think, we definitely, as an entire brand, want people to feel like your engagement with Meow Wolf is an exclusive access. Like, and how do you bring exclusive access to millions and millions and millions of people a year who are coming through your doors? And one secret little tactic there is to provide people choice, because at that point they then are having a completely unique experience that is like exclusive to them. So you're then creating the ability to have an exclusive experience, even if you're doing it for 1 million people a year, 2 million people a year. And the other thing that I think is really interesting is the power of live in-person performance. Because like, if I'm just walking around a Meow Wolf, or I'm on a tour of New York City, or I'm walking on the High Line or whatever it is, and something comes out from nowhere and it's this incredible performance that happens right in front of me, that feels exclusive. That feels like an incredibly special moment. So how do you design for rare, special moments in a world where mass production is the default? And performance is a really interesting way to do that. So I love like the ability for theater to come back in as such a valuable tool when you're trying to create that sense of exclusivity.
Yeah, one of the best experiences, which I love, which unfortunately didn't make it through, was the ride in New York. I think you've probably done that with you're on the bus, but you're looking out the side, and they have performances in the city. There's a drive through the city, but they just closed their doors a few weeks ago, unfortunately. But a great example of a fantastic product.
The pandemic. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about when Vince was talking about the performance side of it. Was a standard hop on, hop off bus plus with the
well, we by the way, Dharma is the company, Bruce, Dan Christians. We've talked about this for years in hop on, hop off, right? Because we all end up in the same place. We all differentiate our product as much as we can until we end up in the city is our product in hop on, hop off. And we all try and change the routes and have better tour guides, but you end up with the same city your competitor has. So we've always looked at ways to layer this kind of stuff on top. And there's a bunch of AR companies with your phone. No one wants to wear goggles on a bus. So everyone's been looking at how do you layer this on top of the double-decker bus. I think Anna's doing this right now. Anna could probably come up with product, I don't know, maybe you are right now, come up with products for hop on, hop off customers, maybe once you get off. But I do like that intersection between the traditional moving around a city and then throwing in this layer of immersive. The other one is when you go to the Colosseum, you do put the VR goggles on and you look at the Colosseum like it was 2,000 years ago. Those kind of products are also interesting, but it's difficult when you're moving to get these two to work together.
So Ana, do you have something like that? We only have about 5 minutes left, so I want to have each of you to kind of sum up some things. But so do you have products you built for, Christian likes to call them hop on, hop off, so I call them ho-hos. So anything that you built for that?
Not working at the moment with hop on, hop off. I heard it was few kind of products that came out in London. It was having like a theatre, West End theatre artist on the bus, trying to get people to be more in terms of participation, not so much immersive. But what we're doing at Imagine, and it's increasing the level of performance. For example, we are about to launch a product in Edinburgh called Become a Wizard for a Day. And you actually go into a workshop, starts by you going to the workshop and you're going to make your wand with your wood, and you work out, and then that's where your wizard journey starts. And you go to a prison and you go performers. They're actually actors, and it's, again, you make immersive educational, because you're telling the story of a city. We all know the famous Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. The link with Edinburgh is that the Celtic culture has a really strong link with sorcery and rituals and the whole Stonehenge. And we do have as well, we're preparing a Stonehenge called the Magic of the Stones. And you are there and the sunset, and you're going to perform a ritual. So it's about getting people to use performers, like Vince was saying, acting performers, but making your customers part of that, which is why I love about Secret Cinema. Sometimes, and that's something that we're looking at, Christian, it's challenging to make the whole VR mobile, but we're trying to look into ways to do that, whether you go to a restaurant. At the moment, what we're doing in Edinburgh is that you go to the restaurant and you have an element of VR in the restaurant, but you're going to make a portion. And the portion you're going to make it yourself might be eatable or not. So you need to choose. Obviously, it's not risky, and it's a great day family out. But
one's going to kill you.
Exactly. One's going to kill you. One's supposed to not. But yeah, all those things we're working at the moment. Absolutely.
Can we talk about distribution for 2 minutes, Bruce?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to. We end up talking a lot about distribution, but and there's some new sort of distribution platforms that I think you guys are probably working with. That is this a whole new level of distribution? The typical sort of Viators and Expedias and bookings and everything, are they not so developed in this space? And this is going to bring in a new batch of Fevers and others that potentially could then compete with these sort of mainstream OTAs. I'm not sure if that was a well-framed question, but is it the same OTAs that are selling your products as selling the Hop on Hop Off bus tour?
Sorry, I literally probably I'm quite passionate about that question, because it's the reason that I started to work with Immersive. And I saw platforms like Ticketmaster just being exclusive for some attractions, and just, selling attractions, ticket, you come in, you come out. Once those levels of performance, and specifically with Secret Cinema, we work in a pre-day and a post-day. So people could prepare the day before, and that's the only thing we've done with Hop on Hop Off, funny enough, I just remember. And it's preparing people, getting their makeup, getting a photo shooting before they were getting into Secret Cinema. It was two separate worlds. Like, you would talk to somebody. I did talk to some of the OTAs early in 2017, and I remember saying, yeah, Ana, we like you, you've been around, but I'm not sure we're going to sell that. And then literally back from pandemic, the story was totally different. Still very much out there. I don't think the traditional OTAs totally understand the product, because the product comes with a number of elements in terms of description, in terms of delivering, and most important, in terms of pricing. And I'm not sure they understand that you're always going to have those middle of, I call it, the typical traditional attractions. And it's got to be, is as much as there aren't even a category. Some of them doesn't even have a category that you can actually make it searchable online for.
So what are the
yes,
main, what are
that's
your
my
main
view.
distributors, Anna? Who are the main companies selling Imagine Experiences?
Fever Up.
Fever Up.
Yeah, in conversation, gifting as well. People feel it's a gift, so I work with Virgin Experiences very much. There is a company in Scotland called More Card, which is very, very niche. And I think Get Your Guide is the one that's starting to kind of they understanding better the product. The product they start sales picking up, and funny enough, specific companies in the US that are using other brands as a distribution. For example, amusement via EBG, but you notice that the booking came through an affiliate program or came through a specific company that requested. So I'm tracking very closely to see what's the source. So yes, still very niche. Probably those are my 4 best sellers.
Yep. And Vince, I understand that Meow Wolf has about 65% of your bookings are coming from travel and tourism and not just locals. That are probably still a very good benchmark for your ticket sales. Any idea what distribution is being used for that travel and tourism business? I realize that's not your part of the business. So you know your answer might be no, I don't have a clue, and that's okay. You're on mute right now.
Thanks. Yeah, we're kind of on a different tip. You know, honestly, like the market that we're in right now that probably like points to this the most is Vegas. And in Vegas, you know, 70% of our guests are tourists, not surprisingly. But from that, like, you know, 95% of the tickets that we sell to those tourists are happening through our own platform. I mean, I think that like our perspective, at least, is that, you know, Meow Wolf is its own platform, is its own distribution platform, and you know that we're building an ecosystem of experiences.
I think that's totally fair. I mean, whether you with distribution or not, you know, who knows, right? You have a brand that, you know, what came to my mind was Airbnb. Like Airbnb doesn't sell Airbnb on other platforms. Airbnb has their own platform and brand, and Meow Wolf is certainly well on its way to establishing that.
Except Disney and Universal are happy to sell through third parties. So everyone needs the help at some point.
Well, they have a little more inventory at Disney than Meow Wolf right now. So, right. Here's a question for you. So anyone that's watching this show that doesn't follow Vince on LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. It's super interesting. He just tells it like it is and what goes on in his interesting mind. The last thing I read, Vince, I don't know when you posted it, was about the potential growth strategy that all of these malls all over the US that are vacant, or even more so the big box stores that are vacant all over the country, are prime material for a Meow Wolf coming in. You know, how real is that? You know, the escape rooms all came in and took in the malls. Obviously, they're much smaller implementations, and you know they were quote unquote immersive in some limited way, right? How would you talk about that and compare that as you really look out 5-10 years of being in every city in the country?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a funny set of variables here that need to be considered. In order to have a really quality immersive experience, it needs to be big. Like, I'm convinced of this. Like, you can't do a small immersive experience that is transformative, that leaves people in a state of awe. It has to be big because you're immersing people in a world and you need them to feel like they're in a world, and that takes having a lot of square footage. If you have a lot of square footage, it's going to be a very expensive project. And so, yeah, there are big box stores all over this country that are empty, and mall developers all over this country who are desperate for something that's going to go inside of these big box stores that's going to attract people back to their malls. Where you have a sort of crux is that to do an immersive experience inside of a mall, it's going to take a lot of money to do it. Are the mall developers interested in investing in early stage concepts. Now, Meow Wolf's pretty mature at this point. So we can come in and we can bring some capital to the table, and we can show, the sort of proof of Vegas and Denver and Santa Fe and say like, hey, this is going to work. But in order for all those big box stores to be filled, there's going to have to be mall developers or, real estate investment firms who are willing to put up the capital for early stage concepts. You're not going to get the Applebee's of immersive experiences, nor would you want that. So like you want interesting new concepts that are large and expensive and sophisticated, and that's going to take money, and that's on the developer to come forward. We have a developer in Las Vegas, Winston Fisher, who opened up Area 15. Area 15 is a 200,000 square foot experiential mall, and he put his money where his mouth was. He said, I'm investing in Meow Wolf. I'm investing in these early stage concepts. There's not many out there, and I'm going to invest in the ones that I see, and I'm going to bring them to my version of the mall. And Area 15 has been radically successful, is disrupting the entire landscape of Las Vegas and disrupting the Strip. And so it's going to take other people, other mall developers and real estate investment firms to have to bite the bullet and be courageous and invest in new concepts. And so that's sort of like, you have plenty of artists and plenty of experience designers and plenty of theme designers out there in the world who could do it. And you have plenty of empty big box stores in malls around the world that need the stuff that those people can bring. The gap between the two is who's funding it. And that's where, honestly, like either mall developers step up and fund it, at least fund a good portion, or they're not going to have interesting attractions coming to their spaces.
Yeah, sure. Any other last thoughts, topics, points, Ana or Christian?
Incredible what you're saying, because you talk about those big malls and those big open spaces, veins and investment and so on. That's exactly the problem in Europe. In Europe, we don't have the space. The demand is there, but that's why you probably will see that the evolution here is going to be different, because those investors and those IPs and those brands are going to have to partner with people that already had the space or the story to make those things happen. Because having those big spaces, warehouses, or you name it, central, it's quite difficult to find around here. So yeah.
And we'll be testing this out. So we're going to be opening a project at the Grapevine Mills Mall in Grapevine, Texas, just outside of Dallas. And it's a big project for a mall to come, to partner on. And so, my projection is that it's going to work. My projection is that you're going to see one of the top tourist attractions in all of the Dallas area located at an old Bed Bath & Beyond, and that it's going to prove out. So we need to prove this stuff out. Meow Wolf needs to prove it out, but Meow Wolf can't fill every big box store, and we don't want to. We wouldn't want to do that. We actually think that there's an incredible ecosystem of artists and creators and theme designers and immersive theater designers that could fill these spaces. And like our thing is like, hey, like Meow Wolf works, but so would all of these other things too. And so to kind of open up the general economy of it and get mall developers to understand that, like, hey, take a little bit of a risk and you'll reap the reward, tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love this. I love the space. I think, like you said a minute ago, Bruce, it's such a crossover, isn't it, between experience, travel. Now we're bringing in the real estate aspect, which is a massive problem in the US, especially going forward. We've got all this space to fill. It covers so many aspects of what's going on in our destinations. I think it's a great area to sort of to look at, and an area for people, I think, to learn from different companies doing different, approaching this as a different angle. I think there's a lot for us all to learn here. It's been a great conversation today, guys.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Ana from Imagine Experiences, Vince
Thank
from
you.
Meow Wolf. We appreciate it. And we will catch you at an event again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.